Thank you so much for joining us today. So, of course, let's just start off with a kind of a macro high-level view of the ICT sector, because government has very ambitious plans for the sector. In Vision 2030, it explicitly states it wants ICT to be the most economically important sector in the country. When it comes to a competitive edge and niching itself in this regard, how well do you think the country has done so far?
Thank you very much. I think we've done relatively well. As you might know, that Namibia has got a really well-developed telecommunication infrastructure, owing to years of investment. And I think over the last years, that pace has been accelerated so that we are able to compete more and more on an international level. We used to benchmark ourselves against the telecommunication infrastructure of regional countries and within Africa, but I think the benchmark has moved higher to international levels. That's where we want to play. Yeah. I can understand why government would want to fast-track the development of ICT sector in Namibia. That's partly because Namibia is a relatively small country relying on a few mineral resources. So investing in ICT would help diversify the economy away from its primary resources and more into services and the ICT, which is a fast developing sector in itself. So we're quite excited, and I think as a private sector, we are very supportive of the initiatives of government.
And of course, your company specifically positioning itself to take advantage of government's priority areas, creating the online procurement program and process. What has been the uptake of this from companies, and how well is e-commerce doing in the country right now?
I think we still, at this stage, maybe pioneers in our field. It's a relatively small economy, and I think the take-up is always bound to be small. Part of the challenges that we face is always from established businesses and our linkages to South Africa, where people are always comfortable dealing with the suppliers that they've dealt with for the past 20 years or 30 years and so. So when you come in with new ideas and new innovations, it's people always sit back and say, okay, let's see how this is going to go. But I think it's an exciting area. We are not deterred by that. We know the market fairly well, and we know that that's a growth area for the future. Yeah. And we also know that the government's efforts sooner or later will pay off, because ICT forms part of the national development plan that government has set to industrialize this country. So we're quite excited about the possibilities in that area, and we are quite confident that in not too distant future, we'll reap the benefits of that.
Now, Namibia, of course, has become the second African country to adopt WACS, or the West African Cable System, of course, after South Africa. It's all about lowering the cost of broadband, increasing the access to internet. How would you rate the progress so far? It's only been perhaps a few weeks in terms of unleashing the potential of WACS in the country.
I think it's an exciting prospect. I think at this stage it's still early days to see the full benefits, but I think you can sense the excitement among businesses. We've already seen improvements in our internet connectivity, the speed at which you are able to transact using the broadband. So we're really quite excited about that, and I think the benefits is not only for individual businesses, but I think it's more long-term, where we can make our businesses a bit more competitive so that we are able to compete more effectively in the on the international field. Yeah. So having a very well-established infrastructure helps, and to make us competitive as a country, but more importantly so as businesses operating within the country. The one thing I want to say is also that most of these efforts are really kind of fostering a culture of that drives young people towards ICT, getting them excited about ICT, the fact that we can now pioneer new services like our company is trying to do on the mobile technology side, pioneer new services so that we are exporters of these services to other African countries and to the world at large. Because at the end of the day, really, like I said in the beginning, we cannot continue to rely on diamonds, we cannot continue to rely on our raw materials from the ground. We need to be able to innovate, to become a knowledge-based economy. That's the only way that we can hope to prosper this country, really.
What is the value proposition for companies right now when it comes to the use of mobile technology and service delivery?
Mobile technology is kind of moving into the direction of SMS-based business communication tools. We are at the forefront of that development, where we see that as a tool that would enable businesses to operate a bit more efficiently and to become a bit more productive. And there's a great deal of opportunity in that field, really. And I think mobile technology, as you know, we've got a penetration rate of mobile services in excess of 110%. So that means I think there's a good take-up from the population and from businesses on the opportunities that are being presented by mobile technology. Yep. These are exciting times as far as the ICT developments in Namibia are concerned, and we are happy to be part of that.
Josephat, thank you so much for joining us today. Great to have you on the show.